What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for MLB Sunday, October 3rd.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon
so you don't miss our new videos.
In this video, I'm going to go over my top DFS picks for today's MLB slate.
And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made.
Oh, and good news, guys. Make sure to stay tuned to the very end of this video because we removed the box that was popping up and blocking the lineup. So now you can see a full lineup using these picks that we made in this video if you stay to the very end. Okay, guys, we have a 15-game slate tonight. So let's take a look at the pitcher position. I like Charlie Morton pitching against the New York Mets. Charlie Morton, he's giving up a .683 OPS versus lefties, a .687 OPS versus righties, and a .713 OPS versus switch hitters. And he's facing 4 lefties, 3 righties, and 2 switch hitters. On top of that, the Mets have only hit 13 of his last 73 pitches. That's a 178 batting average and a pretty big sample size. So Charlie Morton is only $8,600 FanDuel salary. Now he's $1,600 more on DraftKings. So I love that FanDuel price. Projected at 37.7 fantasy points here tonight. He has an ERA of 3.39. His record is 14-6 on the season, pitching an average of 89 pitches per game, averaging 35 fantasy points per game. He scored 61, 37, and 18 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So I like Charlie Morton here versus the New York Mets. Okay, let's take a look at the catcher first base position. I got a stud pick for you, my home run hitter, my dong of the day. I like Salvador Perez with a 30% batting advantage over a low salary pitcher, Charlie Barnes. Salvador Perez, he bats a little bit better versus lefty pitchers, batting a .951 OPS versus lefties, and Charlie Barnes throws 26% worse to righties as he does lefties, giving up a .850 OPS versus righties. Now there's no at-bats versus Barnes yet, and Salvador Perez is $4,100 FanDuel salary, $1,300 more on DraftKings, projected at 11.1 fantasy points here tonight, averaging 11 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 0, 3, and 6 fantasy points in his last 3 games. So I like Salvador Perez here versus Charlie Barnes. Now there's some other studs in good spots here tonight. Joey Votto, Jose Abreu, Freddie Freeman. Those guys are also all in great spots, but my favorite play out of all those guys is Salvador Perez.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal,
all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And we'll send you $25 PayPal.
So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Okay, let's take a look at the second base position. I got a value play for you. I like Luis Arraez with a 57% batting advantage over a low salary pitcher, Jackson Kowar. Luis Arraez is batting 25% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .781 OPS versus righties, and Jackson Kowar, he pitches his worst ball by far to lefty batters, 32% worse than his other pitches, giving up a 1.394 OPS versus lefties. Now there's no at-bats versus Kowar yet, but I like this pick because Luis Arraez is only $2,100 FanDuel salary. He's $1,500 more on DraftKings, projected at 11.1 fantasy points here tonight, averaging 8 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 13, 9, and 13 fantasy points in his last 3 games. So I like Luis Arraez here versus Jackson Kowar. Okay, let's take a look at the third base position. There's 2 third basemen that I like. The first one that I like, he's a little more expensive, but I like Yohan Moncada with a 15% batting advantage over a low salary pitcher, Tyler Alexander. Yohan Moncada is batting a .718 OPS versus lefties, and Tyler Alexander, he's giving up a .899 OPS versus switch hitters. Now I like this pick because Yohan Moncada is 5 for 15, batting a .333 batting average and a 1.133 OPS versus Alexander. He's $3,500 FanDuel salary, only $300 more on DraftKings, projected at 9.2 fantasy points here tonight, averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 41, 9, and 6 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So I like Yohan Moncada here versus Tyler Alexander. So the other third baseman I like is Ryan McMahon with a 35% batting advantage over a low salary pitcher, Humberto Mejia. Ryan McMahon bats 8% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .765 OPS versus righties. And Humberto Mejia, he pitches his worst ball versus lefty batters, 26% worse than his other pitches, giving up a 1.283 OPS versus lefties. There's no at-bats versus Mejia yet, and Ryan McMahon is $3,100 FanDuel salary, $900 more on DraftKings, projected at 10.4 fantasy points here tonight, averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 3, 16, and 35 fantasy points in his last 3 games. So I like Ryan McMahon here versus Humberto Mejia. So on DraftKings, I'd probably play Yohan Moncada, and on FanDuel, I'd play Ryan McMahon.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, let's take a look at the shortstop position. Here's a value play. I like Lori Garcia with a 55% batting advantage over the low salary pitcher, Tyler Alexander. Lori Garcia is batting 36% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a 1.048 OPS versus lefties. And Tyler Alexander, he's giving up a .899 OPS versus switch hitters. Lori Garcia is 5 for 18, batting a .278 batting average. Now his OPS is only .611, but the batting average is pretty decent considering he's only $2,700 FanDuel salary and $800 more on DraftKings, projected at 9.6 fantasy points here tonight, averaging 8 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 3, 9, and 13 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So I like Lori Garcia here versus Tyler Alexander. Okay, moving on to the outfield position. Here is another home run hitter. I like Yordan Alvarez with a 66% batting advantage over Cole Irving. Yordan Alvarez is batting 51% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a 1.161 OPS versus lefties, and Cole Irving is giving up a 1.287 OPS versus lefties. So he pitches his worst ball versus lefty batters, 15% worse than his other pitches. And I like this pick because Yordan Alvarez is 5 for 8, batting a 625 batting average and a 1.750 OPS versus Irving. He's $3,500 FanDuel salary, $1,700 more on DraftKings, projected at 11.1 fantasy points here tonight, averaging 12 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 26, 6, and 6 fantasy points in his last 3 games. So he's probably my favorite play on the slate. So I like Yordan Alvarez here versus Cole Irving. Now I also like AJ Pollock with an 18% batting advantage over Brett Anderson. AJ Pollock is batting 22% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a 1.024 OPS versus lefties, and Brett Anderson is giving up a .737 OPS versus righties. Now I like this pick because AJ Pollock is 7 for 17, batting a .412 batting average and a .860 OPS versus Anderson. He's $3,200 FanDuel salary, $1,200 more on DraftKings, projected at 10.2 fantasy points here tonight, averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 22, 0, and 22 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So I like AJ Pollock here versus Brett Anderson.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.